Told you.
All right, everyone. Well, I'll keep my report brief. I do notice that our board president is not able to join us right now. I'm wondering, Sue, Linda, have we heard anything?
I know this morning she emailed me, I think she emailed Chris too, that her computer wasn't working, but I've been texting her and I have not gotten an answer. I know, Chris, if you tried.
I didn't,
I was about ready to call her too, because I know
Yeah.
she had not been well. Well, wait a minute, maybe this is her.
I mean, I think her problem today from the email, because I was having to charge my personal phone, that I think she's having Wi-Fi problems. So I don't, I think she's like, health-wise, good to go. I think she's having tech issues. And I don't know I don't have any more of an update than that.
All right, I'm going to call her.
Yeah, just give a quick call, Sue. Thank you. Because I don't have anything else, from her in terms of I can't make it and here's my report or anything along those lines. I see Miss Emily is on the phone as well. Sue, Emily's on the phone. She may have an update.
So an update, everyone. Hello. Apparently this morning, Linda's building lost power. There's no power in her building and she'll be waiting to get power for her building. And so we just chatted briefly, as you saw, and honestly, as what usually happens during board meetings or other things, our reports are almost identical and very similar. So I will just be reporting on behalf of myself and her, the board president. Of course, Chris Johnson, if there's things that you may know about the building or other things, please report in her stead. The agenda will go minister, vice president, treasurer, and then of course any committee who wants to share some news about what we've been doing over the last year, please go ahead and share. Does that sound good, everyone?
We will persevere.
All right. Hey everybody, welcome to our mid-year meeting as we talk about what this year has been like, which is a very strange year this year. It's been a very interesting year. I remember the week before I started working from home, there were 3 big events. One was the wedding of a beautiful, amazing gay couple on the sanctuary on Saturday. The next was the Staten Island Pride Center and how we as the Unitarian Church stood up on behalf of the Staten Island Pride Center for the St. Patrick's Day Parade. And then Sunday, March 8th was my last Sunday in the pulpit before we all went virtual. And I remember that week that I was emailing the board at Friday night being like, I think we should close. I think things are happening. When our board very bravely made the decision to close the building and to go virtual, I remember there was one thing on my mind as I was overwhelmed by thinking about how we were going to do this online. I don't need it to be polished. I want it to be personal. It should be personal, not polished. That's the motto I've been carrying with me for the last year, because what matters to me are you making sure this community is connected, making sure this community has the phone calls, has the resources you need to stay connected with each other. Well, over the last year, we've gotten a little bit more polished, you might see. We got Carolyn and Kevin beautiful microphones. They sang beautifully today. We've helped improve the internet services for our worship guild, as well as our choir director, who's been just shout out Dr. Carolyn Clark and Kevin, who have continually shifted and molded and changed as things have gone on this year. I have improved my internet service. I now have a microphone that's really large that I speak from, and you'll see that we are able to do things like slide sharing. We did an amazing feat of an all virtual Christmas pageant. So I think we've come a pretty long way, and I'm grateful for our worship guild for the ways that they have adapted to virtual services. When the weather has been better, and we hope to do this again when the weather is good, we've done socially distanced outdoor events, things like greening the church, things like taking walks every Sunday, things like our in-person church welcoming, where we gave out those virtual worship kits to people, which, hey, we might still have more if you need some in the office somewhere. And also, of course, all of this was made possible by upping our communications. We instead of sending a twice a month newsletter, we now send it every single week. We now post on Facebook every single week. We now post our e-blasts every single week. We are trying to do our best to communicate with you virtually to make sure you stay informed about what's happening. And that is all thanks to Ruth Benson and Viv Vassar for making that possible. Here are some updates when it comes to programming specifically. For religious education, last spring, we had parents who were running the Zoom classes. Well, when it came after the summertime and when it came into going into an all virtual school year in September, parents were admittedly exhausted, and I don't blame them. I'm very grateful that I was able to reach out to two of very close colleagues and very close congregations, Community Church of New York and Beacon UU in Summit, New Jersey. They've opened their doors, so we now have access to youth groups on Sundays, and we have access to children's chapels. So every age in our church has programming if they want it. You'll see every email we send out on Sunday has the information for how to get in contact for our children's chapel and our youth groups. I'm very grateful for some of our youth who are participating, like Lucia, who's in the Beacon UU Summit, New Jersey congregation. And I'm grateful for our members who've gone before, like Anna Hernandez with Mary Hernandez, who's been with them. So grateful to actually formalize that relationship and work together. Beyond that, we've done some great RE things. We've had a youth game night for the holidays. We created our virtual Christmas pageant. I'm very grateful for just how hard our parents and families have worked. And beyond that, our membership committee. Huge shout out, as always, to Kathy and Tom. I don't know if they're here, but they have every week, Monday's men's group, Wednesday women's group. Every single week, they have had a way since this thing has shut down in March to connect with each other, to make sure that we stay connected. I've also tried to up my programming. I have a weekly minister's office hours on Thursday, virtually, both on Facebook, but also on Zoom. And then on Facebook, I have a liberation meditation. It's been inspired since things have happened with George Floyd last May to really think about the interfaith, the voices, the civic leaders of liberation and what that says about our faith. So I do that every single Friday around 3 o'clock on Facebook. I hope this shows you just how much programming we have. We really have tried hard to make sure you have as much programming as you need or want as a community. When it comes to pastoral care, obviously it is hard. It's hard not to see you, not to physically be there at coffee hour, talking with you at a table, showing up, in the neighborhood, seeing your faces. I am so grateful, though, that I have now twice called every single person who's an active member on our congregation. Sometimes the calls don't go through, sometimes things happen, but we've done it in the last year. And our board has called every single person who's listed as active in our congregation. So we are doing pastoral care outreach, mainly through the continual Zoom chats, through our calls, through our actions together. We've also done things like meal trains for the Snells. We are caring for each other in this way. On that note, in the beginning of the pandemic, our minister's discretionary fund was able to help out a few members. We have not been asked for any funds since, but I just want to say that out there. We don't have a lot, but we do have something if people are in need who are part of our community. So please reach out to me. I know that these times continue to be hard. We're still dealing with a pandemic, so don't hesitate to reach out. While we've been away from our building, it's been in good hands. We have not once, maybe for a paint job or so like we usual, but we've really, every single night our building has been open for the Project Hospitality homeless men who come. We make sure that it's clean. We make sure that it's heated and safe. We're grateful for Project Hospitality for partnering with us to be able to make those things happen. And we're grateful for the help of our wonderful building supervisor, Deborah Monte, who's kept our building safe and clean, who's been there to clean, who's been there to check our building maintenance. We're grateful for our Buildings and Grounds Committee, who's also been helping with some final dotting of the I's and T's with our heating system or other problems that have crept up this year. So I'm so grateful. More than that, though, our office keeps running primarily because of Susan Flynn. Susan Flynn, what can I say? Every single week, she is in the office. She is getting your checks. She's sorting through the mail. She's answering phone calls. this is, we don't have an administrator right now. We haven't had an administrator in over a year. She is essentially our office manager, volunteer. So Susan Flynn, you're simply amazing. All of those things being said, it's been an incredible year. I'm honestly amazed at how far we've come in virtual services. I'm amazed at the people who are willing to learn this new technology, to join us, for the ways people are connected with us. And I'm amazed at the things we've done. Social justice wise, we had an entire vote campaign, You the Vote, virtually through phone calls and letters and on Zoom calls. We've done social justice initiatives. We've done protests and services, all in this new way, and it's because of you. So I'm humbled. I'm humbled and honored at what we've done. I'm humbled and honored at what we're going to be able to do. That's the full report. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, so, you know, we're certainly disappointed that Linda isn't joining us today. And since she was dealing with COVID, to be like undone by a loss of power in her building is just the final coup de grace. This is, some days there is no justice in this world, as we know too often. So we're sorry that we're not seeing her unless some little quote, you know, miracle comes along and she actually appears on our screens. So we're sorry that Linda isn't joining us because we're not seeing her and we're not hearing from her, and hopefully that's going to be, you know, corrected really soon. So, you know, as the vice president of the church, I just wanted to pop in and for any other loose ends that Emily perhaps, you know, didn't offer, which for the most part, there are very few, if any, we just want to recognize that, you know, the Zooms have really allowed us to, you know, looking on the bright side, folks from near and far can now participate in our Sunday services. And there's some folks who have been, you know, physically encumbered and unable to come. And so we've seen more people now joining us on Sunday that perhaps didn't always do that, and other folks who are maybe willing to give us a try or a look-see by joining us because we're on Zoom. And I think that we've all been gratified by that. And hopefully that when we're back, you know, live, you know, in our sanctuary and in our parish hall, that, you know, we're all going to be able to see all those folks, you know, coming there, which would be a great thing. So because of that we're not in the parish hall where we see each other and say, oh, so-and-so, what about blah, blah, blah. You know, we're doing things in a very a la carte way. All the committees that Emily identified, you know, they're all actively doing their thing, and we're all a little siloed because of that. So we don't always, not everybody is aware of everything that's happening, you know, all the time. So that is a loss to that extent. And we want to make sure that we're aware, we're sharing that information, you know, as much as possible. The executive committee meets once a month. Executive committee, of course, is Linda, myself, Sue, Sally, and Emily joins us, of course. We're meeting every month. The full board meets every month. So we are dealing with, you know, the business, in a sense, of the church, and everything is moving forward in a positive way because of that. So we talked too about perhaps, you know, at some of our post services that maybe we should have a 10 or a 15 minute area where if anybody has any questions for anybody on the board, you know, giving people an opportunity to make sure that we believe we're being very transparent, but when we're not physically seeing each other, sometimes that might not come across as well. So we want to make sure that everybody knows everything that's going on, you know, at all times. But everybody is really being more active than we thought we could be. We just want to make sure that the entire congregation is aware, to the extent that they want to be aware of what's going on in the church. So Emily already talked about Buildings and Ground and Worship Guild and RE, of course, and membership. And we've now instituted a fundraising task force. The first was our virtual holiday card. So Sarah Dolinar, Mary Campbell designed it. And it went out to 200 plus people. And it also, like, in homage to our Jolly Holly Fair. And it raised us a whole bunch of money, I think more than about $3,000, which was great. And the fundraising task force is going to continue to work, you know, in the coming year to try to find other ways of generating some revenue for a church. So we are all, working and working hard, and we're just glad that we have an opportunity to make sure everybody is aware through our communications, the newsletter. Ruth is on top of all of that. Emily has certainly been doing a lot of assistance along those lines in our Facebook page. So there's lots of opportunities to share information. I just hope everybody's taking advantage, of that. So kudos to everybody. I think, not for nothing, but I think we are all doing a marvelous job to keep us percolating, alive, and moving forward, and keeping our eye on the prize that, when we're finally back, in our sanctuary and in our parish hall. So with that, I'll turn it over to Sue, our intrepid treasurer, who has found ways to bring some more revenue into the church besides visiting our office at least once a week or so with her spouse. And she and Tommy have at least a little eyes on the physical church, as well as Deborah, who, as Emily said, really has taken our physical building under her wing and is just doing a marvelous job with keeping everything up and running. And I think we'll probably allow, after Sue, if there are any other committee folks, I think that Emily mentioned, if anybody has a thing that hasn't been identified or just wants to give a blurb out, we'll have a little space and time to do that too.
I also want to give a shout out to our Buildings and Grounds Committee, Tom and Mike, because they have also been keeping an eye on the church. And I also want to mention that the men's group still meets, the women's group still meets. So, those are two other functions that, thanks to Zoom, we actually have people, I understand, in the men's group from far afield that attend. And I think it will be nice that once we are all together again, to continue having services on Zoom for people who may be homebound or just can't get to the church. Because, I find that Zoom has been actually a godsend for a lot of reasons. That said, let's tell you how well we're doing.
You can share your screen if you'd like to.
Oh, okay, good. Yeah, I can share it. Which report do I want to show you? Okay. So this is actually, I'm just giving you a tally at the end of December. On this side is what our finances were for all our different funds. We have the general fund, which is our operating budget, comes out of that. The capital fund, Memorial Garden Fund, and the minister's discretionary fund. And at the end of 2020, we were looking pretty good. We had 185 plus, like almost $186,000 in the general fund. Last year, if you look on the right, you'll see what we were in December in 2019. So that's quite a big difference in everything except for the discretionary fund. And I'll talk about that in a minute. But for the other funds, we're doing really well, as you can see. The discretionary fund we did tap into. Thankfully, we had it to assist members of our church. Just a reminder that we still take donations. If you want to donate to that particular fund, just when you send your check to the church, just put in a memo that it's for the minister's discretionary fund, because people had been donating to that at the beginning of the COVID, or else it probably would have been a bit lower. All right, so as far as our operating budget goes, we budgeted to get a total of $105,950 in pledges. So far, we received just over 85,000. So to put it into perspective, that at the end of December, we already took in 80% of what we hoped to get. And we still have a few months to go. So that's not bad. Expenses, we budgeted, we hope to keep our expenses down to $122,284. So far, we've only spent not quite $60,000. we've only spent 51% of what we thought. So it's really not bad, but that's going to change. We have not been this solvent in years, but there are some big ticket items that we need to consider that might be coming up. Building maintenance. We've been very lucky in that we haven't had any major problems, but you never know what's going to come down the road that we might have to repair. One repair we actually have to do, and right now it affects me too, is repairing the bluestone. It's very uneven. I have a difficult time walking on it myself now. We will need a new stove. We already have been told that in 4 years we'll need a new roof. That's going to be a big expense. And we still want to consider putting AC in the parish hall and the sanctuary. You know, that's something to think about, but that's going to cost. We also, when we're open, somebody that will put me out of my job, I hope, to hire a office administrator. We'd also like to give Emily a raise, which we were not able to do this year. And also, we have to remember that we are the landlords of the parsonage, and that building is old, and it's going to need repairs as you know, time goes on. Last year, we had to replace the stove, you know, and that comes out of our operating budget since we are the landlord for that building. We do get a rent from them, but it's only $30,000 a year, and I know we've had discussions about raising the rent, but with COVID, and we just felt like this was not the time to do that. And we're hoping that when we are back, you know, in vitro in the building, that we can look for a tenant for the basement, because that will help tremendously. But I think looking into the future, you know, this pandemic has taught me a lot about, you know, what you can live with and what you can live without. And I think we've done very well on that score, and hopefully we will keep the lessons we've learned from this in the future, so that if we are renting the building and we are getting more income, you know, we're very careful and frugal with how we spend it. So that's basically it. I don't know if anyone, you know, I'm going to turn this off right now. If you have any questions, please. And also, you can always email me at treasurer@uucsi.org. And that email will come directly to me. If you have any questions about anything, you know, don't hesitate to ask me. But I will take any questions you can throw my way right now if you have any. Maureen? Yes, Maureen.
I want to say thank you, Susan, for your hard work. And, you know, I know what a hard job that is, personally, no. And thank you also for getting the paycheck protection loans. I think that is a good part of the reason why we are as solvent as we are, and I really appreciate that. And I also wanted to say, while you mentioned giving Emily a raise, which of course would be lovely, it would also be nice if we could give Carolyn and Kevin a raise, and maybe even Deborah, because Carolyn and Kevin have also been, I just want to give them a shout out. They've also been doing an incredible job during this pandemic of keeping us with the music. And, you know, I know that also on their, you know, first of all, we always get 2 people for the price of 1, because Kevin really does a lot of the singing and is there for us. So just if at some point we can give a raise to Carolyn and Kevin, I think that would be a really important thing to do. And also I want to thank Carolyn and Kevin, because I know that they're giving that they also make open for the community sing-alongs on Saturdays and things like that. So just, you know, I really appreciate the job everyone is doing, and certainly the Zoom stuff does really keep us connected. So thank you all for all you do as part of our community.
Yeah, before we go on to say general questions, Maureen's comments are, nobody's going to disagree with a word of those. Before we go on to maybe general questions, do we want to reach out to any of the committees that are, you know, still in the House, want to be able to make any comments? I see, we'll start with Kathy with membership, or is that a no? Kathy's waving at us.
as a member of the nominating committee.
Oh.
I just want to let people know that the nominating committee is going to have our first meeting this coming week. And we are going to be looking for people to participate and accept our request to be on the board or be a person on the nominating committee or be on the executive committee. So just to let you know, we're going to be like reaching out, and please be accepting.
Yes, please be responsive to our nominating committee members, who are Kathy and Carol and
Becca and
Maureen.
Marge and Carol.
Maureen.
Yeah, and Maureen.
And Marge has resigned from the nominating committee. She can't really do it at this time. So
We'll leave that.
The three of us can do it, but
Three of us can.
yeah, okay, cool.
I think they're saying they're good to go. Okay, any of the other, I see Mike Stein over there, any other building and ground comments you want to make in addition to what's already been said, how fabulous you and Tom have been?
No, that's not what I want to say, but I do appreciate the comments that have been made about it. I just wanted to clarify about the sidewalk. The repair is motivated by our insurance company that has requested that repair of the sidewalk, and we haven't gotten to it yet. We discussed it in the buildings and grounds about how to do some of that repair ourselves, but it's not something we're going to be able to do until the warmer weather. And I also wanted to add my appreciation to everything that Deborah has done. Yeah, and just one other thing that hasn't been mentioned, we've had some problems with the gutters getting filled with dirt. We had them cleaned out once, but Mark Semanchek, Tom, and I cleaned out one of those gutters the other day, and Tom did most of that work, and that was an important thing to have gotten done. That's all.
I see Ruth's hand, and I also thought I saw Mary. So Ruth and Mary.
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to give a little bit of a report from the communications committee. I want to give a shout out to Emily, who has stepped in this year and taken on a lot of the work of communications, particularly doing the newsletter. God bless you. I mean, you couldn't pay me to take it on, and you took it on, and that is fabulous. However, Emily is also looking for, I guess I can put my hand down now, can I? Emily is also looking for a hearty soul to take on the production of the newsletter. She was able to step in because of not having to commute into Staten Island from Marble Hill, I don't know, however many times a week, you know, so she took it on, and God bless. And the other person I absolutely have to, oh dear God, thank you so much. I've said God 3 times and I'm an atheist, so I don't know what's going on with me. Anyway, Viv Vassar. Viv took over our Instagram account last winter, and I guess after Christmas, not this past Christmas, but the one before, and just sort of slowly began building it, and putting up photos and things that either come from our archive or that she takes. And she, in this year, she has brought our followers from, like, I don't know, we had like 150, I don't know what we had. It was a very low number. I just looked on Instagram before. We now have, thank you, Viv, 2,179 followers. Yay. Viv, miracle worker. I know, right?
It's incredible. And I just to give you a sense of this, I have a dear colleague, Reverend Schuyler Vogel, who is the minister for Fourth Universalist in the city, like in the Upper West Side. And he's like, so how did you get that many Instagram followers? I'm like, Viv Vassar. That's how. Viv Vassar he was so impressed. He's like, we're this huge, they're a very large congregation. They do amazing work. They do not have as many followers as we do, and that's because of Viv.
Yeah, Viv is really very, very internet savvy, and she has just done a great job. She's put me to shame, and I'm actually thinking of going back and activating our Twitter account, which I've just left languishing for the last year. So I think I'll try to match Viv. No, I won't, because she's so much better at this than I am. But I think I will start up the Twitter account again. And but basically, you know, there hasn't been much to do. We just, you know, right now we're back to just our normal sending things out. And I've been updating the website. The website just sort of sat, you know, kind of quietly for a good part of the year. But now, you know, I'm getting the weekly things up. I just put up our upcoming services. So, you know, bit by bit, kind of creeping back into normal routines again. So that was really all. I did want to definitely thank both Emily and just make everybody aware of the fabulous work that Viv has done.
And Ruth, on the newsletter bit, and Emily, I think that we wanted to be able to say, if we were going to send out, you know, like a word, so this meeting is a great way to put the word out, that we are looking for somebody to transition into the newsletter. We really do want somebody who has either MailChimp skills or Constant Contact. That's the format that's currently being used. So hopefully if somebody has those skills, please reach out to Emily and or Ruth ASAP, and we will transition you gently into the newsletter role. We're not going to leave you in the lurch. We're going to, you know, walk you through. I speak for Emily and Ruth in this, like you know, because I know that that's exactly what they would do. But that would be crucial to be able to, you know, to move it to newsletter and to help out the folks that have been doing double duty in some particular areas. And take that hat off, David Jones. David Jones, you know, I know you're a hat man, but you know, we were hoping for a break. You look very dapper, David. What can I tell you? That is your way. That is your way. Is there anything from, since we just left you, Ruth, we'll jump back to Worship Guild. Anything on Worship Guild? Worship Guild meets every month, and they work as tightly as ever with Emily on our lay-led services. So Ruth, any other comments you want to make about Worship Guild?
I don't think so. I think that with Worship Guild, we've just been carrying on even through the pandemic, just the way we always do. We had a momentary lull as Emily was sort of figuring out how to, and thank God, when did it come? It came just before. Gee, there I am back to thanking God again. Isn't that interesting? I don't know what it is in the air today, but anyway.
Old habits die hard, Ruth. Old habits die hard. You used to be a Catholic girl, and that's what happens.
I probably should be thanking the universe, or I don't even know what I should be thanking, but I'm just so grateful. Let me put it that way, that Emily sort of transitioned us into this business of doing our services online. And I think working closely, we on the Worship Guild, working closely with Emily, you know, gradually eased ourselves into, you know, first of all, working with Emily, and then bravely stepping out, especially over the summer with the forums, you know, kind of just stepping in and just doing, you know, getting forums together and doing stuff so that when it came to be September and time to be back to church, we were already in the swing of how to do our own lay-led services online. And again, the tech support, which has been so invaluable. Oh, Sally Jones, Mary, I was almost gonna say God bless them. Sally Jones, you think it's my age? I mean, you think this is a thing that old people say all the time? I don't know. But Sally, Mary, and of course, Emily herself. And am I leaving anybody out? And now we have a couple of new volunteers coming up. So we have Mark Semanchik and Chris, the other one will be
Mike Stein.
Mike, yay!
So actually to introduce this, Mike Stein, and also tell you, Sally, I didn't actually email you this. Mike Stein will be testing out and trying his transition for first Sunday is next Sunday, February 7th. Don't worry, Mike, it'll be my Sunday, so I will ease you carefully into the role of tech assistant. Have no fear. But I'm so grateful that we now have more than one volunteer. Sally really has been holding down the fort every single Sunday. I don't know how you do it, but I'm grateful for you. As a final shout out for Worship Guild, we want to, just every single person on Worship Guild has stepped above and beyond. I want to especially shout out to Dave Michaels. amazing, right? He's given 2 services this month. It's incredible what he's done for us. And when I think about Sarah Dolinar, how she stepped up with several of the services, especially guest speakers. I think about Rob and Elle, who have regularly given us hymns and recorded themselves for hymns. Of course, we already mentioned Carolyn and Kevin. Ruth, several times, has reached, just every single person has worked their weight in gold. So please just thank you, this community, for keeping this going. Okay. Mary, I know I've put you off before. I saw your hand up for social justice, so please share.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, given, you know, the increase in my work schedule and the demands of my business, social justice has not been meeting as a committee. Individuals in social justice have been doing a lot of work with, you know, more or less collaboration with other organizations, particularly with UU The Vote, and working with Staten Island Women Who March and other organizations to get the vote out. And, you know, being involved in the BLM actions after the killing of George Floyd. But I have been looking so far, not with success, for someone to step up and, you know, take a shared responsibility towards social justice, you know, at least as far as helping pull together monthly meetings and stuff. So maybe we could put out the word in the newsletter. If anybody knows anybody who has an interest in that regard.
I would love to. And Mary, this might have already happened because I know she is rather busy, but I know that Ashley has talked to me about how she hasn't been as involved with the church because she's been so involved with Staten Island Women Who March and other kinds of social justice collaboration. So she may be a perfect candidate for merging those two worlds together in a way that might not overstretch her. So I would recommend Ashley Santangelo as a possible person to step up. Again, I don't know her schedule and I don't know if she'll say yes. But yes, of course, we will put it in the newsletter and we'll write an e-blast. Yeah. Thank you, Mary, for also just, Mary, we know that you haven't done necessarily committee meetings, but you just went to the people's inauguration. You've shown up consistently this year, even with your job being as hectic as it has been for you, caring for so many people with COVID. It's amazing, and we're so grateful. We're grateful for individuals and the social justice actions of this community.
Absolutely. Any other committees out there that need a minute to share some information? I don't see any except for Minnie Mouse down there, Mr. Jones and Sally. Very nice. They both look like Minnie Mouse now. Are there any, Mr. Stein?
I just want to reiterate about the stuff that Mary's done. She has reached out to the community in terms of people who in need more than once, and gone around and collected items, collected food, collected money for people who pop up as in desperate need. And she has really stepped up and done that, again, in the context of her very busy schedule. And I just want to acknowledge that.
Cheers.
Thank you, Mike. And I should acknowledge, you know, this community, every time I have put out a call, it's overwhelming, the response, and so gratifying. Thank you.
Okay. If there are no other kind of general comments, does anybody have any questions about anybody who's reported out, or general questions you have? I don't see any. So unless there's some other business, can we request a motion to adjourn? Are we there?
I see David's hand up. Sorry.
Yeah, just one question here. The you say that the slate roof that we had needs repair or replacement?
It's the slate on the sidewalk in a few places.
Oh, okay. So the roof doesn't really need to be repaired. It's a 100-year roof, right?
No, it needs to be replaced in about 4 years, 3-4 years from what the roofer, who took a quick look at it about 1.5 years ago, told us. I've tried to get in touch with, I have gotten in touch with him, and he's going to take another look at it probably in the warmer weather again, and give us a new, more recent estimate as what kind of work will be needed for the roof. But the roof itself is not a 100-year roof. It's 25 years old, and that's getting close to its lifetime.
It's slate though, is it not?
I don't know what the material
It's
on
not
the
slate.
roof is. I think it's regular shingle.
Slate.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, regular shingles should be able to, we should be able to go over top of that then.
It depends on how many layers are already there.
Yeah. Well, we had about 100 layers on our house before we had the roof. 5 layers before we had the roof off. And
That's a good one.
Well, now legally you can only have, I think it's 3. And our insurance company is really on top of making sure we stick to code. So that's, you know, that they mentioned it also, I believe, in their last inspection.
Can we start, if we're, can we start thinking about solar and maybe adding geothermal? We've got the space to put the geothermal in.
I think didn't we do some inquiries into solar, and did we find that our roof is not a candidate based on its orientation and location? Does that ring a bell with anybody?
When the roofer comes in to give us a new estimate, hopefully within a couple of months, I will inquire of him as to what the status of that possibility is.
Yeah.
But we know from our own house that you really should not get solar unless you have a brand new roof. You can't put solar upon roofs that need work in the near future. So it's a question that needs to be, addressed after we get the new roof.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of the new Tesla has roofing that is also solar at the same time. So that's something to consider. The technology is there now for a replacement of the roof, and at the same time you could put solar in, and it would go a long way towards dealing with our energy bills.
Something to consider by all means.
Absolutely. Okay, last call on questions. Not that we want to shut anybody down. That's so not our goal. Any other questions out there? Okay, I still don't see anyone, so I'm going to entertain a motion to adjourn. Does that feel okay for everybody? Okay, so I think Mike Stein made a motion and David Jones perhaps seconded that. So if we're good to go, we have a little hand motion on that. Hand action. Okay, nobody's saying, oh no, don't go, heaven help us. Good. Okay, I'm gonna take that as a we're good to go, and you can thank anybody, the universe, the heavens, small G God, capital G God. You can thank Maeve. You can thank anybody.
Oh, Maeve.
Oh.
Yes, whoever said Shih Tzus are loud.